This morning we are welcoming two representatives from physical therapy, from Outpatient Rehab.
We're from inpatient, but
oh, you're inpatient.
we're inpatient.
Okay,
but
I'll
we're
start
all
that
one
again.
group.
You're
we are
all one
one
family.
Group. We're all one big happy
one team.
family.
So you are Lilian Wainless.
Yes.
And you are Therese Bantasan.
Correct.
So you're inpatient therapy, which means you're at Garden Ridge.
We are at Garden Ridge.
But you're part of the whole
But
team.
Yeah.
you might see us at Hunter's Crossing if the need is
you go where you're needed.
correct.
Correct.
And
correct.
Lily, you are a physical
I'm
therapist.
a physical therapist.
And Teresa, you're an occupational
Yes.
therapist. Okay, what's the difference?
Okay, physical therapy, at least here, how we've kind of broken it down. In terms of strengthening, we focus more on the lower extremities and total body conditioning. So think about it in that we'll kind of prepare the body to allow the occupational therapists to do what they do best, which is focus on activities of daily living. So we focus on lower extremity strength, standing balance, walking. Walking is our specialty.
That's your goal.
That's our thing. And then
So for occupational therapy, what we focus more on the deficits. You know, if the patient, the residents having problem like feeding themselves or walking to the bathroom, and so we teach them some compensatory techniques and showing them adaptive equipments, letting them use that to become independent in their activities of daily living.
And I've seen in your setup over there at Garden Ridge, you have like a small apartment kind of setup.
That's correct,
so they can
yeah.
practice.
We do simulate them, going in the kitchen, reaching things,
Right.
going in the refrigerator and, in the bathroom too.
and how to do that safely.
correct.
Yes.
That's the biggest goal.
You're right.
Safe.
So that you're not falling down in the midst of trying
Correct.
to
Correct.
do something.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So what are we going to talk about today? What's our focus?
Well, safety.
That's a good idea.
You segued right into
Okay.
it. And what we thought we'd talk about, since the winter months are coming and falls are somewhat prevalent during those months. Well, one can fall at any time.
Right. But especially in the winter time, it's a
we-
little scary.
We wanted to kind of review things that one can do to minimize the risk of falling.
Okay.
So some fall prevention is what we wanted
Yeah,
to.
so we cannot change the weather, but we can change the way we act safely on our daily tasks.
Right.
Especially, outside now it's like getting colder, slippery outside. So
We should really minimize how much we go outside.
if you
can.
If you
Yeah.
Don't have to go out, don't go out if it's like,
Not in
snowing
terrible
outside.
weather.
Yes.
Right.
But Green Spring, the staff here does a really good job of keeping the grounds here very,
Clear,
very
yeah.
clear. But what we wanted to mention is that everyone is at risk of falling if we're not careful, but there are certain individuals that are at higher risk, and for those individuals, they need to be a little bit more attentive to minimize their risk of falling. People that have that use an assistive device, even though they are helpful and they do help,
An assistive device
meaning
would
a
be
cane, a walker, a rollator, as good as they are, they also, in some respects, can increase your risk of getting caught up in them or falling. Individuals that have neuropathies, for example, where they don't have good sensation in their feet, they're at a higher risk of falling.
because they don't feel.
They don't feel. People that have either because of medication or through various conditions that are lightheaded or have orthostatic hypotension, which means when they get up and they're standing, their blood pressure goes down and they get dizzy.
I always think of my grandmother when you say that. I see myself doing this too. I used to watch her get on the edge of her chair and then stand up, and then she would pause.
Give herself a minute.
And because she had some vertigo, she was a little dizzy, and she would wait
balance.
Exactly.
until she felt comfortable moving off.
Exactly.
Which was a very good practice on her part.
Absolutely, she was a wise woman.
She was.
And those people too that has risk of falling, those have visual impairments when they can see, like
That's right.
they have macular degeneration or cataracts. So there's the high risk of falling too, like they lead to fall, like when they're walking at nighttime.
One thing that I notice here is that, and I've been going into people's apartments to help them with their televisions, is that there's so many people who think they need to have one lamp on for the entire apartment. And that to me is a fall risk.
It is a fall risk. A
is.
well-lit environment
Turn on your
Yes.
lights.
is a
Turn on
good
light.
plan. Wearing good footwear is a good plan. Things that are sort of non-skid.
With a good traction to it.
That's a good plan. Removing, as beautiful as they are, a lot of throw rugs
Yes.
in the apartment, little area rugs. They are a risk. People without any deficits can get their toes caught, and so that's something that we recommend when we do home assessments, that they be taken away.
We could suggest that people do here what I've seen them do in the Middle East, is hang those beautiful
Yeah,
ornamental rugs
yeah.
on the wall.
Because I know some
Yes.
of them
And
are
they do that in the Middle
very
East.
beautiful,
Yes.
very sentimental,
Yes.
and you can enjoy them on your wall,
Right.
and
Yeah,
not
than
on the,
the
that's a
floor.
good idea.
It's so easy to trip
Yep,
over them.
yep.
Installing, like night lights, like
Yes.
lights, and going to the bathroom.
Yes,
and
because we all think, oh, I
Yeah.
won't turn on the light. I know the
Yeah.
way to the bathroom.
Yes.
And that's where you run into a door or you trip
Right.
over something.
especially at nighttime, you just like woke up, you're like half asleep going in there.
Right.
And also installing grab bars, that's very, very important.
Yes.
Beside the toilet, you have something to hold on to.
So if when you moved in here you didn't have grab bars installed, can you get grab bars installed?
Absolutely.
So you can call
yes.
General Services and tell
Absolutely.
them what you need, and they can come in
Absolutely.
and get grab bars installed.
And that's true, because it's, people change as they're here.
Sure.
Their needs change.
Right.
And I think the Green Spring works hard to accommodate those changes and make easily accessible
Yeah.
to get.
Yes.
To get those
necessary
things.
accommodations that
Yes.
they needed. Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah.
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 And also think too, like in the shower, you can put, grab bars around and, to get in non-skid mat.
Yes.
When you get into the shower.
That's an
it's
important thing, a
slippery, yeah.
non-skid mat.
Yeah.
And part of what we do is with our population in Garden Ridge, sometimes before they're discharged to go home, we will do a home assessment. We'll go
Oh,
to
that's
their
a good
home.
idea.
We'll go to their home and see.
Is that something someone needs to ask for, or do you usually offer it?
Right, no, that's something that needs to be, once they're being seen by us in Garden Ridge, that's part of our,
Yeah.
not always, but if we suspect that there might be some difficulties that we want to look into, we will do a home assessment.
Okay.
And go through room by room and see
Good.
how
How
everyone
and how they're
functions,
doing.
yeah.
How they're
Yeah.
functioning.
Yeah.
And
See
and
where
make
there-
recommendations.
See
We-
where there might be some dangerous
Correct.
spots.
Yes.
We can make some recommendations and to improve the safety.
Yeah.
So that's something that is offered.
Let's back up for a minute to the canes and the walkers
Sure.
and the rollators and the importance of when you get up, make sure that if it's something that has locks on it, to make sure that those are locked.
Absolutely. The rollator is the only assistive, and by rollator I mean that has the seat and the four
Yes,
wheels.
yes.
That is the only assistive device that does have locks, brakes, and part of our training.
Or even if you're moving yourself into a wheelchair.
to make
They
sure
also have
to make
locks.
sure it's locked.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because those can get out of your way and
Absolutely.
then you
Yeah.
can fall.
So it's locked before you sit down, locked until you've stood up,
Right.
gotten your bearings, and then you can unlock the brakes
Right.
and go.
And that's the important step.
Getting your
Take your
bearings.
time, get your bearings before you start
Correct.
walking.
Correct.
Don't get in a hurry, even if the phone is ringing.
They'll
and you
call
need to
back.
get to it, and
They'll
they'll
Just
call
let
back.
it ring. Don't rush.
Right.
To go.
Also, one thing that I've noticed within the community with those rollators, and why people like them is that when they get tired, they can sit.
Yes.
But it's very, very important, and we train the residents that we work with not only to lock the brakes before you sit, but if
Oh,
you can
good point.
position the rollator against the wall, lock it and then sit, it increases the security that much.
Excellent idea.
yeah.
That's
So
a
those
very
are-
good tip. Because we see people do
Yeah,
that a
they'll
lot.
just
but-
sit in the middle,
But that
yeah.
gives you something to push
Right,
it against.
right.
Yes,
Instead of
So you
one
need to
move.
lock it, and if you brace it against the wall, it's doubly secure.
that's a good idea. Let's put in an advertisement here for our shuttle buses in the wintertime. You may be used to walking outside. The fresh air is good, but if it's slippery outside,
Oh,
get on
Yep.
that bus.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I mean, the beauty of here is you can get everywhere inside.
Right.
So, if,
But if you don't feel comfortable walking.
correct.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
shuttle bus is an absolutely very good
Right.
alternative.
Right. A lot of people are used to just, whipping outside. Oh, I'll just
Yeah.
cut across this
Especially
parking lot.
when the weather is bad and there's icy conditions.
Yes.
Because you may or may not see the ice.
Right.
If you have low
Yeah.
vision or black ice where you just can't see
Yes.
it. So yes, that is just
Get on
the
shuttle
safer
bus.
way to go. Absolutely.
But that
Just-
doesn't mean if you do
doesn't
feel
mean it doesn't mean like when you're in the bus you're not gonna fall or anything, but you have to like really keep an eye on especially the black eyes.
yes.
Keep an eye on your when you're walking, you have to like really look in front of you what's in there.
Yes.
And try to avoid it.
Yes.
And especially like people like they're driving, getting in and out of the car sometimes.
Yes, that's a very good tip.
to
Yeah.
make sure that
Make
when
sure,
your foot is on something
That
solid before you.
before you get out of
both
the car.
Correct.
both feet as planted like in
Yes.
the thing before you
Correct.
get up, and you
Yes.
can hold on to the car frame, door
and
frame.
make sure that you're
Yes.
not going to slip. Because then I'm
Yeah.
seeing in my mind's eye one of
Oh,
my
yeah.
uncles doing that.
Oh,
He-
sure.
He slipped under the car.
Sure.
And
Oh,
that's dangerous. Luckily
yes.
he wasn't
Uh-huh.
hurt.
Yeah.
But
is
that does
danger.
happen.
It does happen.
Yes.
It does happen to all of us. So.
Right.
And
So you
if,
want to be really careful.
yep. If
Yeah, and
you,
then there's other tip that you can do too, like when you're walking, like in the dog, like to try to, like especially in the morning, which is icy, try to wait until later in the day to get, the temperature gets a little warmer
Yes.
and, it's not icy anymore. And or if you don't have to go out, you don't go out.
Right.
If it's not really important, then try to like plan ahead
Yes.
and postpone what you
Right.
to make sure you're not to have to go out that day.
Yes.
And
Think about, do I really need whatever it
Yeah.
is I
Right.
was going out
Right.
for?
and take extra time. Don't rush. Especially when you're walking, like in the icy area, so you cannot like sometimes
Do the old shuffle.
do the shuffle, like point your feet out.
yeah, a little
and-
duck walk,
Oh, a
penguin
little duck
walk.
walk,
That's
yes.
very
Uh-huh.
safe, much
Yes.
safer
Yeah.
because you're widening your
Yes.
base of support,
Yes.
so it gives you a little bit
Yes,
more.
it looks really silly,
But
but
it's
I never
safer
care.
for sure.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'd rather be
Absolutely.
on 2 feet.
Little penguin.
Yes, right.
walking and
When I was very young, my first year teaching, I fell getting out of my car on
Oh,
ice
yeah?
one time.
Yep.
And that I learned a real
Absolutely.
lesson
Yeah.
there. I was young and I was cool and I was going to get into the
Yep.
school and boom.
Yep.
Yes.
So if yes, actually think before you move.
That's really the best
Yes.
advice.
Give
whether
a little
you're
bit
in
of,
your apartment, whether you're outside,
give
think
it a little
before you
thought
move.
of what you're going to do, what your objective is. If there, do you have any oh God, what is it? I'm just losing words here. Obstacles in your way, how
Oh.
you can avoid them.
Avoid.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you think before you move,
Right. Good advice.
yes,
And I think for all of us, just let's make a goal for today. Look around your apartment and say, how could I make my apartment more safe?
absolutely. That's a
What
very
could I move?
right.
Yeah,
That would make it
especially,
more safe.
When we go to like some home assessment, sometimes like I can see, especially in the bathroom, what I see is like there's some boxes that is not necessary to be there. They can just like move it to, make access, if you're using a walker or rollator for you to safely turn, and
Right.
you can put it in the storage area
Yeah.
rather than just piling up there in the bathroom or the sidewalks, in the side, the hallways. You
Good
have.
advice.
And
Yeah.
people know a lot of times when we're in their homes, they'll say, "Oh yeah, I always trip over this." Well, if you always trip over that,
Guess what?
that's one. That's a clue. Get
Yes.
it.
Get it out.
Get it out.
You can
so
do
I
without
think
it.
your advice is good. If everyone were to just look around their home, see what areas they've had trouble with in the past, near misses.
Right.
Those are the things to focus on and make changes.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ladies, thank you so much
Well,
for your
thank you.
information.
It was a pleasure.
And we'll look forward to a safe winter season.